talking about Devin Singletary, he's in a new home in Houston. And there you had a rookie last year in DAMEON Pierce that had a fantastic rookie season, unfortunately cut short in week 14 with an ankle injury. I also think they held it off a little bit easier since they were a losing team and they didn't try and rush him back in for anything, so they put him on the IR. But this guy was just short of 1,000 yards rushing with 939. He had 222 carries. He had 4.3 yards per carry average. They didn't get in the end zone a lot. That was a hard part for him. He only scored 4 rushing touchdowns, but he's still, with 30 receptions, as a rookie out there, I think they put a lot of trust in him. Singletary now comes in, a veteran running back. I think it obviously hurts Pierce's stock as being a RB1 go-to guy, which I think he could have been a top 15 pick. Now you got to think that Singletary is going to have a share of that backfield. I'm not as keen on Singletary eating that much into it. In my opinion, I think Dameon Pierce is a different type of runner. He's bigger, he's stronger, he runs violent. And if anything similar to Damian Harris, if Singletary's going to take some snaps away from him and some early down stuff and some early drive stuff, Pierce is going to be in there when push comes to shove to get that ball through the end zone across the line. And listening from CJ Stroud having a press conference recently, I think it was even maybe this morning, but he's talking about how Dameon Pierce has been a great teammate so far, somebody great to have in the backfield with him and to assist. And just look at that Houston offense. He is probably, in terms of skill position, he's the veteran player there. He's the guy who's been there last year, and it's now all changed. So I think they're going to lean on Pierce. But again, Singletary, they don't have anybody else behind him. They had Rex Burkhead last year. Singletary's going to get his. He's going to get his opportunity. He's a veteran running back who posts great yards per carries. He's going to get his opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I don't necessarily think it's going to be kind of early down work versus third down work. I think that they're going to split series. And it might be like 2 for Pierce, 1 for Singletary, 1 for Singletary, 1 for Pierce. Could be something like that. I think that this, and we kind of talked about this in a short that we did. You kind of just nailed it. Like last year, Dameon Pierce didn't have any competition in that backfield. Like they were not going to give running attempts to Rex Burkhead, and they had no one else there to give any kind of rushing attempts to. So they worked the rookie. And he was effective. I think that they're going to build on that, but I don't think that he had the injury in week 14 last year. And it wasn't a major injury. I think it was a knee sprain, right? Just something very minor. So he's obviously going to be ready for the season, full health. He was ready to come back last season. They just kind of held him off. This offense is a lot better than it was last year. So, if this was the same offense as it was last year and they brought in another running back, I'd be like, I don't think this offense can sustain 2 of these guys. But Agreed. I do think that this offense can sustain 2 guys. I think it was very telling that if they had brought in like a true backup, I would have, again, this is kind of the same thing with James Cook. If they would have brought in a true backup, I would have loved Dameon Pierce a lot more. And same with you. I would have had him in my top 15 rankings. But the fact that they brought in another guy that is a starter in this league, not only a starter in this league, but he was a starter on a really, really proficient offense. And he was extremely, extremely effective and efficient as a runner the last 2 years. And I just think that it's going to be kind of that series by series approach that they're not going to wear down Dameon Pierce. They're going to use both these guys.
Have him fresh at the end of the game.
Have them both fresh because they are both really efficient runners. And Dameon Pierce, like you said, he's a violent runner. He has a lot of explosive speed. He's had the big playability, which Devin Singletary has that too, but not as to the extent that Dameon Pierce has. I'm not really sure on where I line up with goal line work here. And I think that's still yet to be determined on how CJ Stroud is going to kind of run this offense. So I can't even give a swing over, I think Dameon Pierce is going to go much higher in the ranking than Devin Singletary is.
Yes. You could guarantee
and that's what we're talking about is there's value there at Devin Singletary. So if you didn't want to spend, a top 3 round pick, I think Singletary is, a 3rd round pick. I think that's a very fair assessment. 3rd, 4th round pick for Dameon Pierce.
Well, here's my question then. where are you taking Dameon Pierce? And let me read out a couple names where he's. So right now I'm looking out at a standard ADP right here that's put together, and Dameon Pierce is sitting below Dalvin Cook, below Aaron Jones, below Jahmyr Gibbs, below Kenneth Walker, below Breece Hall, and Stevenson. But he's above people like Joe Mixon, Miles Sanders, J.K. Dobbins, Cam Akers, and DeAndre Swift, and Rashad White, James Conner, so on. Who are you taking before him, and who are you going to take him above when you're thinking about starting running backs?
Jahmyr Gibbs, I would drop down. Everyone else in that list that's above him, I would take above him.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Mixon, I'd probably take above him. Dalvin, I would take above him. Did a short today on Dalvin, how I think he's going to overperform his ADP. And I don't care where he goes either. So, but this is not a Dalvin conversation. This is a Dameon Pierce conversation.
What about J.K. Dobbins in a run-heavy offense?
I'd take J.K. Dobbins over him.
Okay,
and that's I'm going to take injury out of it.
Yeah, we have to assume no injury.
We have to assume no injury. I think J.K. Dobbins is in a much better situation we saw a couple years ago when he was healthy. Any game he's been in when he's healthy, he's been really, really good.
Yeah.
And I think that, they have Gus Edwards there. I'm not sure if they re-signed Kenyon Drake. I don't think they re-signed Kenyon Drake. So I would take Dobbins over him. And it'd be close.
How about Rashad White or James Conner? Both guys who have no real competition behind them, but both on not so great offenses in regards to, well, I wouldn't say Cardinals aren't great at running the ball because James Conner just took the team on his shoulders at the end of the season last year. But, Rashad White being on a bad offensive line and having 3.7 yard per carry, but there's no competition behind him.
Yeah.
You take him over those two guys?
They're right there. I think I would take Conner over him. I would take him over Rashad White. But I would take Conner over him, I think, just because there's no one there.
Yeah, volume's king.
Yeah, volume is king, and who cares if their offense is bad? Dameon Pierce's offense was bad last year. Was he a bad fantasy player? No. And for a running back on a bad offense like that, typically you see like their numbers go down. Dameon Pierce was effective there. I think that the Cardinals can still run the ball. Connor is still effective in the pass game, and a lot of dumb screens, and he can break off big plays from that. So I still like James Conner a little bit over him, but I think Dameon Pierce is right after that.
Well, to close it out again, we're saying Dameon Pierce is the guy to start the game, and the difference being instead of someone like Cook, maybe getting some early down off, like we were saying, possibly, and working a lot more in the passing game. We think this is mostly, and I agree with Chris when he says that it'll be series by series. Unless one of these guys breaks off a big run and needs a breather, I think for the most part, they'll probably do a 2-to-1 series ratio. But we'll see. It's a whole new offense. Players are all over the board there. Who knows who they're going to lean on and who's going to have the early down spark. So